Am I the a-hole for not splitting my daughter's college fund? When my 42F daughter, 17F, was 7, we lost her father to an avoidable accident. Due to that and the subsequent settlement, my daughter was able to have a trust fund of sorts that provided for college, grad school if she wanted, and even some leftover for whatever life might bring. It is money that, managed wisely, would enable her to have a head start in life. She knows about this and has never taken for granted given where the money came from. After all, we'd both rather have her father around than the money. That said, life moves on, and I remarried 6 years after my former husband's passing to a lovely man who has 2 children of his own, 17F, 13M. All of the children live with us primarily with his children, seeing their mother on vacations as she lives across the country. This year, both our girls are graduating and should be headed to college. My daughter was admitted early to her dream school last year and is ecstatic about it. Her father is an alumnus, and she has this old sweatshirt of his that she kept to remind her of him. She cried so much when she got in, and both her stepfather and I were proud of her because she worked hard to get in. My stepdaughter will also be attending a wonderful school that is one of the top-ranked schools for her interests. The problem now arises with the money to pay for stepdaughter's school. Because her parents cannot afford to pay the tuition in its entirety, stepdaughter will have to take some loans. All told, she will graduate with about $40,000 in loans, which I think is still quite modest for the school she's attending and her earning prospects post-graduation. But my daughter will graduate debt-free, and for my husband this is suddenly a problem. He wants us to split up my daughter's fund between all 3 kids because then they could all, probably, have college fully paid for. My daughter won't have much left over and will definitely need to borrow for grad school, which she has expressed interest in attending, but according to my husband, that's okay because everyone will start off on an equal footing post-college. I think this is unfair to my daughter because 1, her father had to die for this money, and 2, this is like her inheritance from him. My husband thinks that they are all siblings, and she should be happy to share the money with them if it means giving her siblings a head start in life. I absolutely do not want to put her in the position of being guilt into saying yes if she doesn't want to. I have expressed all of this to my husband, and he thinks that I'm being selfish, that I'm teaching my daughter to be selfish, and I obviously don't consider my stepkids the same as my daughter. AITA for wanting to protect my daughter's trust for her as it was intended? ETA, since I've seen this a few times already, both kids do have college funds, but somewhat smaller because my husband and his ex got their finances together later in life. So there is some money, but with the caliber/COA of the school that SD will be attending, she will still need some loans to cover costs. I haven't brought up going to a cheaper school because that will be a fresh set of problems given where my daughter will be matriculating. Relevant comments. And TA. That settlement was for your deceased husband's children, not your future children, and certainly not someone else's. And TA. No way. He needs to provide for his kids. You have, tragically, provided for your kid. This is her money. Why hasn't he been saving for his kids' education all along? He can co-sign on his kids' loans and pay them off. These are his kids, and he and his ex-wife need to provide their educational expenses. OOP. To be fair, he did save for his kids, but it won't fully cover. SD will need to take about $10,000 to $15,000 give or take per year, although it could be less if she managed to get paid work during summers, etc. We would also be happy to help her out here and there if need be. Downvoted comment. Info. This is a difficult situation to judge as written. My question for you is this: who has paid for your daughter's needs since you and your husband married? Has he contributed at all to her food, clothing, shelter, school-related expenses, extracurriculars, family trips, etc.? Or were those expenses borne solely by you and or the fund? Because if your current husband has contributed to his stepdaughter's expenses, I can see how he might think, I've spent thousands supporting this young woman over the years. Money that could have come from her fund. OOP. Both my husband and I paid for things because we both have careers and didn't nickel and dime one another about who is buying what for whose kid. Some information from OOP on this trust. When the settlement was awarded, it was awarded to me. I then split the money and put most of it in a trust for her since we weren't struggling because I work and made enough for our little family. Update post. 2 years, 9 months later. I'd forgotten about this account some time after I posted until I saw my OP on Facebook. I logged in and found a lot of message requests demanding an update, some nicely and some not too nicely. I almost deleted the account, but I figured why not. So here we are. My daughter is now a junior at her father's alma mater and her dream school as planned. She's doing exceptionally well to her surprise, but not mine. I always knew she was capable. I'm happy that she's starting to understand what I've always known. She's told me that she plans to start studying for her LSAT because she wants to apply to law school senior year. I'm so immensely proud of the woman that she is becoming. I've never quite been able to get over that stab of grief that hits when I see her shining and know that her father will never be able to see her being an adult that we can be proud of. As for the money, it stayed hers. That part I never wavered on, but that was also the very thing that ended my marriage. Things fell apart even before the girls went to college. My ex-husband went to my daughter, against my explicit wishes, and tried to guilt her into sharing the money. She came to me upset, and that was it for me. Going behind my back and trying to pressure my teenage daughter into doing something that I had stated would not be happening? Unconscionable. We separated that fall, and the actual divorce was finalized this past summer. My stepdaughter is also a junior at the school she was excited about, but we have not spoken since the separation. I don't know if she blames me and my daughter or is trying to distance herself from the whole thing, but it still hurts. My stepson still contacts me frequently, so that's something. I moved after the divorce was finalized, so now I'm in a new city with a new job and a new house. It's been an adjustment, but it feels good to start fresh in a completely new city for the first time in my adult life. So that's it. I'm doing well, as is my kid, and we're moving on with life, which is all you can do these days. I am grateful to the thousands of people who didn't make me feel like a monster because I stood firm on protecting what was my daughter's. She and I are both grateful that we took that stance, especially now that we know that grad school is firmly in the future and the economy around that. This will obviously be my last update. So cheers. Be well. Comment. You did the right thing, Mom. That money came at the expense of your daughter losing her father, and it was in no way shareable with your former stepchildren. Your ex-husband was horrible for even asking her for money for his children. One other thing is, when you married this man, you really should have never even told him about her inheritance to begin with, and your ex-husband should have had no knowledge of it, nor of how her college was being paid. Hopefully you'll eventually find someone who's not selfish like your ex-husband and will treat both you and your daughter as you should be treated.